it's me, Cosmic Spectrum, and this video is sponsored by Squarespace. So hello you guys, I'm here with another sketchbook page for this pretty little sketchbook that I got, and I got lots of updates to tell you about. The first one is me showing you this beautiful book plate sticker of Noel that I finally got in the mail recently. I made the order a few weeks ago and it has arrived, and I absolutely love how it turned out. As you can see, it's very sturdy. It survived the first failed attempt at sticking it to the sketchbook, but anyways, yeah, it looks great, and I just wanted to show it to you in this video because I was filming like a little bit after I got it, so I just got a little bit of that footage. And now I'm just moving on to a very random page in the sketchbook that was totally unplanned. So I recently have been on a bit of a binge of a new book series, of a book series that has been around for a while, Vampire Chronicles by Anne Rice. I have heard of it many times before. I've obviously seen the movie with Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt back in the day, and it was fine. I liked it well enough. I especially liked the plot with Claudia, which is incidentally what I'm drawing here. So yeah, I decided to draw a little snippet of, or little portrait of Claudia and the doll as she's described in the book, and just the way that I pictured her. Anyways, so what prompted me to read the series? You might think that it's the recent Netflix show, but actually it's a total coincidence that came out recently, and actually I'm not super interested in watching it for various reasons. I really like the series, and I'm currently on the 5th book, and I don't know, I feel like the things that I like about it are not in the imagery as much as they are in the dialogue. And at least from what I've seen in the movie from the 90s, the dialogue is cut short quite a bit, and I don't know, it's fine. It was still good. I think it was a pretty good adaptation overall, but it just didn't quite do the same for me as the books do, so I'm just sticking with the books, and maybe someday I'll check out the new Netflix show, but I just have a feeling that it's not very true to the original. I was actually super sad to find out recently that Anne Rice actually passed pretty a couple of years ago only, and she was so generous with the fans, with doing a lot of Q&A sessions and telling them about her writing process and all of that. So yeah, it's a bit of a shame that I kind of made this discovery super late, although things happen in their own time, and I suppose there's nothing you can do about that. So I've just been enjoying reading those books lately, and it gives me a lot of ideas for random things to draw that don't necessarily have to do with my ongoing projects, because that's one of the things that I've been trying to once in a while take a breather from. I find that all my work has to be super planned, and I end up just drawing very similar things all the time. But this was something slightly different, and I also decided to go back to the combination of, oh yeah, look at this, my classic blunder every time I use ink. I swear to God, it happens every time. It's almost like it's fun to see where it's going to land the droplet when it comes, because most of the time it actually lands right in the face. So this was kind of a lucky one where it was off to the side where I could easily hide it later on, as you will see. Anyways, so yeah, I wanted to go back to this one inking process with just a super heavy focus on the line work, and well, I guess it's pretty typical for me, but I wanted to bring colored pencils later on in the process. Again, I haven't done that in a very long time, and that's something that I really like. Looking back on my art, some of the pieces that I like the most, especially the cover of Prism, my art book with 3D Total, I really like the rendering on it. It's I think it's got a very pronounced vintage type of I guess feel to it, even though my style is pretty modern. So I think it's kind of a neat combo that maybe hopefully is somewhat unique, because I feel like these days I keep looking at my Instagram feed and everything just starts to look the same. So yeah, I wanted to try that process for the first time in a while, and I was pretty happy with how it turned out in the end. Been a little bit out of practice with traditional lately, but it was nice. It's always nice to go back to traditional for me. And actually, another thing that I want to go back to and do a little bit more of is gouache studies. Something I totally forgot about, that I had a little phase a couple of years ago where I did a bunch of gouache studies and then a couple of gouache pieces, I think, but very few and far between, and those were very enjoyable for me just because of how different it is from the straight line work type of approach. But anyways, I'm talking about that even though that has nothing to do with this particular video. So in this illustration, I, as usual, went for my Rohrer and Klingner inks, permanent inks, and I diluted them somewhat, and I also added a little bit of red. Oh, that's Boris coming in to my office, always bothering me, especially when I'm in the middle of something, like doing a voiceover right now. But anyhow, I'm sure this process is probably familiar to most of you guys, so I'm not going to talk too much about it. I just used this brownish diluted ink to do the entire... Actually, no, I didn't. Sorry, I'm like doing this voiceover very late at night, so my brain is not working super well. But yeah, I actually used 2 different colored inks, I just remembered. So as you can see me now, I'm switching to a blue ink for the dress and all the ruffles and the bonnet. So that is the ink that I'm using, and I suppose there's not much else to say about this part of the process, so I'm just gonna quickly tell you guys some super important and huge news that I didn't really announce properly on this channel. And the news is that my comic has officially started with public posting of the pages on the official website, which is glowingveil.com. And speaking of the website, I'm just going to tell you about the host and the sponsor of this video, which is Squarespace. Squarespace is the all-in-one platform to build a beautiful online presence for your business. I myself have been using Squarespace for my main portfolio website for years, and naturally when I was looking for places to host my original webcomic, Squarespace was my top contender, but I wasn't sure how things were going to go because typically webcomics are hosted using blog-style websites, and there's been some complicated coding from what I heard, but I'm super happy to report that Squarespace was very easy. It was a total breeze. The freeform editor allowed me to create the landing page exactly how I wanted to, with custom button images and a parallax background and a logo as large as I want, which is very large, as you can see. So the backhand is very straightforward. Editing and posting new pages is super easy, and the fantastic thing is that I can always add a custom shop directly to the site in the future if I need to. I highly recommend using Squarespace. If you want to try it out for yourself and make a website portfolio or host your webcomic or anything, you can head over to squarespace.com and sign up for a free trial so you can test out all the amazing features. Once you're ready to launch your website, you can go to squarespace.com/cosmicspectrumart for 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. That's squarespace.com/cosmicspectrumart for 10% off. And now back to the video. So I have another piece of news that's super exciting, and that is I just got the advanced copies of my Halcyon Days sketchbook sketch collection art book in the mail a couple days ago, and it's absolutely perfect, thank God. Sometimes I get so nervous about these things. I actually had nightmares leading up to when I was supposed to get the samples I guess the advanced copies in the mail. Like, I had this nightmare over the weekend that I get the package and I open it and it's like the wrong size. It's too small and the cover is super blurry and it's just like super shoddily put together, and then all the pages are just like printed horribly in the wrong resolution. I swear to God, these mundane nightmares sometimes just plague me. I don't know what the problem is exactly, but so I was kind of nervous waiting for the package, but I'm happy to report that when the actual package arrived here and I opened it, it was a huge relief because the books were absolutely perfect in the way that I wanted them to be. So everything was exactly how I pictured it would look. All the placement was correct, the gold foiling was perfect, and yeah, overall they just looked great. The quality is super nice. They're very substantial, and the size, I was worried about the size all of a sudden, like I told you about that nightmare. It was actually it's a very good size. It's a little bit smaller than 8.5 by 11. That's the usual size of my art books, but with this one I went slightly smaller because it was closer to the size of my typical sketchbooks that I tend to use on a daily basis. And yeah, I think the size is perfect. Like, it looks good. Definitely does not look too small. And the quality of the paper is super nice, so I'm very pleased. This is a new manufacturer that I have not worked with before, so for that reason I was a little bit hesitant. Well, not hesitant, but like nervous, I suppose. But all the steps of the process so far were very easy, and everything is going completely according to schedule. And thankfully, because I got the package pretty quickly and I was able to approve it right away, since nothing was wrong with the books, and the production, I mean, technically the production is already done anyway, so I don't know why they would bother waiting for my approval at this point. I guess it's you never know. But in any case, the shipment is currently being arranged, or maybe has already been arranged. So to all of you who have ordered or pre-ordered my new sketch collection art book, happy to inform you that everything is going according to plan, and the projected dates of me shipping the books out to you guys sometime in August still should be right on schedule. And if you are just hearing about this for the first time, yes, like I mentioned, new sketch collection art book currently in production, and the pre-orders are still up in my shop, which is cosmicspectrum.art. So please check it out and see if you'd like to snag an early copy for yourself. Actually, the price is a little bit discounted right now, so it will go up once the books are at my house and I have fulfilled all the pre-orders. So up until I get the books and I will pause my store at that point, the price will remain slightly discounted. So there's still time to get that discount until the books are just on regular sale in my shop. So that being said, back to the illustration. Yeah, so this sketchbook page was super relaxing. I'm glad I was able to get it in because I've been just so busy lately. I had this last minute convention situation come up, Anime North, local for me. Could not get into it. I actually applied earlier this year, but honestly, I don't even know why I bother ever applying there. I actually haven't in years, but for the first time in several years, I was like, oh, maybe, I'll try, see what happens. And as usual, I did not get in, so I had no idea that I was going to be going to this convention until the very last minute, when my friend said that the booth that he has some extra tables that he doesn't have enough product to use up, so he offered me this table. It was like 2 days before the convention, so it was a bit of a rush for me to prepare, but I was super grateful for the opportunity anyways, because it's always good to go, and it's so nice to see all like local friends and artists and finally catch up with some people that I haven't seen in years, which was absolutely lovely to do that. And yeah, it was very nice to see some of you guys. I know that I didn't really get a chance to announce this ahead of time, so I don't know how many people actually knew that I was going to be there, but some people ran into me and were happy, and that's more than worth it for sure. Ooh, there's some crazy thunder going out outside right now. Ugh, so scary. Anyways, okay, so yeah, I was talking about the convention. Yeah, overall it went well, but it was very exhausting, as conventions tend to be. So it's been a little bit tough for me to get all these things done for the past couple of days, but thankfully I have been able to more or less stay on schedule, because this video right here, finishing it up, was the last task for me this month before I can finally start working on the first chapter of my comic, Glowing Veil. So the prologue of Glowing Veil has just concluded in my Patreon page behind the scenes, and I just started posting it publicly. So this gives me quite some time before I run out of pages of the prologue with the public website, before I have to start posting chapter 1, obviously, but I very much want to retain as much of like the buffer as possible between the Patreon page and the public page. So I would like to really get going on the first chapter. The first chapter is actually relatively long, so I'm not sure how many pages it's going to end up being, but it is going to be much longer than the prologue, and I'll definitely have to figure something out to kind of condense the process and make it less labor intensive. I think it's fine that I put so much effort into the prologue and made it a little fancier than it needed to be, but I'll probably have to seriously adjust that process going forward into the first chapter. And I was actually thinking that for the first chapter, I'm most likely going to divide it into sections and maybe even into scenes, and kind of work on each section at a time to completion. So hopefully that will actually allow me to keep the buffer of vast between the Patreon and the actual website, and I won't have to take too long of a post-page update hiatus from Patreon. I mean, there's a ton of stuff I'm going to be posting on Patreon anyways. Usually whenever anything happens, my patrons are the first to know, and I will also be posting a lot more development stuff now that I'm going to be jumping into the first chapter at long last. I've already done a lot of development for it, of course, but you know, there's still some things that I gotta do. Some background, I don't know, I guess test sketches and location design and whatnot. So that's fun. I'm really looking forward to these things. And yeah, that's about it for the current developments in my projects. You know, having the website be live finally for the public and have a few of the first pages of the prologue is such a huge step. It's, you know, it feels a little bit anticlimactic for me, because once the website went live, I realized that there's really no way for me to actually gauge the public reaction to it, because there's no comment section on the website or anything. It's just a standalone website, and it's not a blog style thing, and I don't know if I'm going to have comments at any point on the website. I don't really see any reason to do that. But one thing that I am working on is I'm going to open up my Discord server that's currently Patreon only. I will make it accessible to public, to anybody, and I'll just probably section off some of the exclusive Patreon areas and make the rest of it public, in order to provide the opportunity for discussion and just like community building for the comic now that it's finally begun. And that is kind of my next order of business as well. So as you can see, lots of things to do, always just a million things to update and work on. But in the meantime, once in a while, I'd like to use this little sketchbook to have this downtime sort of wind down drawing. And I know this is, you know, pretty intense for just like a quote-unquote simple wind-down drawing. I know that, but to me, like, this was still very relaxing, and it was low commitment. And actually looking on it now, because I put quite a bit of effort into it, I think it would make a really cute sticker. Again, I'm getting these ideas of like just drawing a bunch more of these Victorian looking like frilly objects or something and making a little sticker sheet. Constantly just obsessed with the stickers, you guys. But yeah, that's basically the entirety of the process for this sketchbook page. I really hope you enjoyed watching it. I hope you check out my comic. Please do. It's glowingveil.com. And let me know in the comments what you think about this video or any other thing you would like to throw at me. And I will see you in my next video. Bye!